Welcome to this Fireside chat on InsurTech Business Series Conference. And like I said earlier, this is going to be involving a conversation with Rashidat Adebisi, who is Chief Client Officer at AXA Mansard, one of the leading insurance companies in Nigeria, and Henry Mascott, who is co-founder of Curacell, and an InsurTech startup. And so we're going to be delving a bit into something that they are doing and the industry as it is. And so welcome, Henry.
Thank you very much, Damo. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Hi, Rashidat.
Hi, thank you very much. Great to be here and nice to meet you, Henry. And hi, Damola.
Nice to meet you.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to a very interesting conversation. And to start off with, I like to know people. I like to meet people, right? So, Rashidat, in as short as possible, how did you come to the insurance space?
Very, very, very interesting. I don't think we have enough time to actually have that fun conversation for it to be fun enough, right? But to be clear, I think insurance for me has been around the ability to impact people and how it really was. Perhaps my closest first stint with insurance was, I briefly worked for a company called Churchill Insurance, somewhere in the UK. And, I just got interested in how realistic it was. And moving back to Nigeria, when I found an opportunity to work with a certain company called Guarantee Trust Assurance, it wasn't definitely the highest pay, I would say to you, but it seemed to have the most interesting offering. And this impacts to practice my own core. I'm a business accountant for my first degree. Just do something interesting in insurance was just a great proposition. So got into insurance, started working with AXA in 2005. And over time, I've worked within finance, led finance, and then been involved in the business, moved into trying to grow, the penetration and protection of people, you and I, people on the streets, not just large corporates that we tend to see more of. And so this proposition is still exciting when we consider, the country's penetration rate, the amount of insured people versus the possibility, and then versus who really needs protection. So this is, perhaps something very close to my heart. So I believe that insurance is a noble profession, by the way. It's not always easy for you to be able to make a living and still impact people's lives. So this combination just makes it super exciting for me. Thank you.
Great. That's awesome. Henry.
Thank you very much. So how did I get into the insurance space? So again, because we're solely first of all, sort of like a technology company. We did initially start out in healthcare. We're still in healthcare, health insurance, but our first product was purely focused in terms of like digital transformation in the healthcare space. And then during the process, we also found out that it was really hard for you to grow, the healthcare market if there's no healthcare financing, right? So, which is the part that insurance plays, right? So, because it acts as that financier in the ecosystem, which is pretty much how we get it. How I got into insurance. But my background is in product. I'm a product guy. I'm a technology guy. Worked in a few tech companies before deciding to start out Curacell. And I echo Rashidat's sentiment a lot. So for us right now, when we look at our mission, with what we're doing with our product Curacell, it is really to help drive inclusion on the continent, because we feel that risk protection, which is what insurance is something everybody needs to have. It's something that we need to figure out how to, we already live in a country where a lot of people are poor. So it means the little they have, we have to find a way to protect it for them. Because, if I always give an example of a middle-class family, is one health crisis away from bankruptcy, right? So a father who, makes $100,000 and then has, an accident and has to use all his life savings to take care of that. that's pretty much that for his kids' school fees for the next couple of years, right? So for us, it's very, very important to us that we figure out a way to sort of like get covered for a lot more people. Whilst our current product is still around sort of like efficiency and productivity and cost savings, our passion really is to partner with the incumbents to figure out how to scale the market.
That's great. Great to hear that. I'm going to start with you, Henry. I know that Curacell, they play especially in the claims area. So in the last session, it really just ended with a lot of the panelists just saying pay claims. Rashida, I'm not tackling you now, but that's what the market is saying, right?
We accept.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, Henry, playing in that area, how important is it for insurance companies to actually pay claims, not just for the sake of paying, but easier payment of claims and faster payment of claims? But those are some of the challenges that we are having. So it's not like insurance companies are not paying claims, but it almost takes too long. Weeks. And so how can, technology can go a long way, but how important can that whole thing play?
No, because you see, being able to pay claims is very important from a user experience perspective, right? Because we're a player in the claims sort of like value chain, there's a lot of things we do on that value chain from making it a lot more efficient. So if, for instance, with our current sort of like where we're playing, if like a provider submits a claim to a health aid or medical aid or a HMO, and then it takes them months before they can even get through with the paperwork, so that's mad, right? That's crazy. So there's a part where you can drive a lot more efficiency where people can be paid. But I think what you hear a lot of people saying is, first of all, there has to be a mindset that to be able to grow this market, you need to just show people that, I want you to get value, right? I'm not, because I guess what a lot of people say is insurance companies are always witch hunting. So you submit a claim, they try to scrutinize it, try to make sure that, you don't get as much as you. So again, I hear the sentiment, right? In this market where there's very little penetration, you probably need to try to get people to trust you more before, so yeah, you need to get people to trust you more. So spend less time trying to scrutinize and, accuse people of trying to be fraudulent or not. Just pay them, right? So that they can refer, right? So I guess right now, I wonder what the NPS, that's the net promoter score for insurance companies are, right? If I have an insurance product, would I necessarily say to my friend or to my family, you should use this insurer because, they're always, So there's, first of all, that mindset that insurers, you just need to focus on the user experience. How does the user perceive you, right? I feel that is, for us, we're on the other side, which is, first of all, you've solved your user experience, but when you're now like, I want to, let's check this thing. That's where we come into play. But I would really do say that, yes, that I wouldn't necessarily say that we would support that, be a witch hunter, try as much as you can not to pay people. But again, I engage with a lot of insurance companies. So we have a health product. We currently have an auto product in the offering as well. So engaging with a lot of the insurers, you also hear that they're thinking some of them, I wouldn't say it's all of them, they're starting to have this mindset, which is, customer experience is the best thing for us. So whilst we know, yes, there might be a bit of fraud, but, let's just try to, make them have a good experience. Yeah.
Okay. So, Rashida, a lot of things has to do with the experience. Claims is very important when you're looking at the customer experience. That's the reason why I bought it 9 months
ago. The first instance.
Right. So, and that is still an issue in the market in that space. So can you talk a bit about what you guys are doing or what's your take about the whole claims and, just beyond just claims, the experience really, like Henry said.
This is definitely a very, very important topic. So I'm not surprised that it came up as a big deal. And I saw a chat just pop up and the person said, if insurance companies will pay claims, I totally agree. Of course, there's some fundamental issues that affect the ability for some of the companies to pay claims. I mean, as Henry said, we are a company that we're monitoring our NPS constantly, looking at the different moments of truth, trying to see that, at the adjustment level, at the submission level, in the payment level, what are we doing? How are we doing things differently? But, many companies have to balance this with proper pricing. So when I come back to the foundation and fundamentals of insurance, which is risk management and pricing, we haven't always we're not in the industry necessarily focusing on the fundamentals. We're only just seeing more actuaries, much more better focus on the risk pricing methodology. Because if you price properly and you've collected the appropriate, risk margins, if you say in that way, then it wouldn't put you under so much pressure to pay claims. If I want to pay quickly so you can get more. But the industry has gone through a phase. When it started, from people I've spoken to, I wasn't there, but people I've spoken to have told me how, how they used to challenge each other, how, when the client moves from another customer, they will call the customer, the former company and say, please, can you confirm this client was with you? What was their loss ratio? So that the client didn't just move from one company to the other with one terrible loss ratio, then get a very low price in another company. But all those things don't happen as much anymore. So you end up having very high level of competition and people just offering things based on who's going to give me the cheapest. And you can't blame a customer, right? Insurance is a commodity. They want what the best price is. Unfortunately, when we don't match that price with the offering and what is covered, and then that disclosure on what does this price cover, I believe has also affected us. And if we then address, these fundamentals so that pricing is being done appropriately, people who are good risks or based on age, experience, areas are being priced appropriately, then we have a better pooling and a fairer structure, which would then positively impact the payment of claims. So I think that's the first step, the fundamentals. The second one, of course, is, like Henry said, the mindset. We must understand how important this is. In AXA, one of our key values is customer first, right? And so a lot of all the evolution we're doing is to say, how do we serve the customers better? And I can tell you, even we have to convince our people internally to say, look, yes, we understand that it's underwriting, but first, the customer didn't know this when it was starting. And so we have sessions now where we're saying to ourselves, can we do it better? So we had to set up, a customer analytics team who is now tracking our NPS, looking at, the complaints, working on it to see how we can, truly improve those things. So when we price, when we give them the policy documents, many people don't read, right? They like to say that, hide something in a book from Africans. We even try to simplify it by putting things like, those complex issues on the forms, but customers still don't get it. And I don't blame them. We're just too technical. We need to be simpler as an industry. So the simplicity would help us. So if we address this and people are clearer and they're being told this is what is covered though today, you'll be surprised that there's some fire policy that doesn't cover certain type of electrical or maybe, lightning, sort of like coverage. And it's pricing. So the culture hasn't been to do this so much. Why? We've traditionally supported corporate organizations who could have brokers, and the brokers are, helping their clients to manage those risks. But the brokers can't do 200 million people. They need to be able to understand what their own volume and margins are. And so we can be better as an industry addressing this. So I believe that if we fix the fundamentals, if we work on this experience that we've spoken about, and we all keep, having that mindset to say, can we make it better? We will definitely create a better claims experience. There are many companies who are paying claims. When I first started, maybe 15 odd years ago, now sounds so old, right? But, it was about, we used to compete on the basis of we pay claims. But I don't believe that we pay claims is a basis of competition as much for many players anymore. It's about how quickly and do we pay it on time? Or do I say to you, what time did you have the claim? You had it at 12:01. You are not covered between 12 o'clock and 12:15. People don't like that. And that's why I guess maybe Henry's point of saying that we're picking on specific things, like we're just trying to reach out to you first. So I think I'll stop here so we can take more conversations.
Right. That's awesome. So I'm sticking with you now. So an FINA report from 2018 mentions lack of products and institutional exclusions as some of the barriers to financial inclusion in Nigeria, especially insurance, right? How do we tackle this as an industry, looking at the various stakeholders, that we have in the market, from your point of view as AXA and you personally?
Well, honestly, I'm sure if everybody knew the secret answer to that, right, we wouldn't be having all these conversations. But I'll just try and posit some of my own thoughts, and my first thoughts are that, when you have well-capitalized companies, and that's where the recapitalization comes in, and you have, the right funding and your shareholders are holding you accountable, then you are driving not just your typical, transactions, but you're seeking to see how can you keep improving your service offering. This will ultimately help us in reaching out to clients and thinking about them. But maybe we'll say 3 key things. We need to listen to the customers a whole lot more. The industry has designed a lot of its products based on what they have and what they believe they can do and what has been approved by the regulator. We're not necessarily trying to do what the clients want. And why? Sometimes a bit complex. And I appreciate it. And it's not because, you can truly make everything super simple. But how can we be complex in ourselves because we're really a legal contract and still be simple to the customers. So if the industry can work a little bit better to listen to clients, and we had to do this a lot. I mean, we launched a product where you could, insure daily, with a particular telecom company. And, it was going quite well. It was more simple. We tried to improve the experience, very quick and all. And guess what? We got a lot of regulatory issues, first from our regulator, then from the, central bank, saying that, look, you are creating an alternative currency. Then we got something from NCC. Then everything was shut down. And we're saying we want to improve on it. So I believe the ability to create sandboxes and test and run these things, working together with regulators, will make a big difference for us in the industry. I mean, I've been a very, very key advocate for this. I've probably been at many, EFINA sessions just talking about this to say, look, let's work on it together. Let's go through a sandbox approach. Don't shut down everything. So if we're able to do this, listen, create new ways of testing these solutions without a lot of all the regulatory, sort of like situations, it would definitely make a big difference for us. The other thing, of course, would be investing in, new solutions to help us. You need to be more cost effective, right? When you're going to, a larger part of the market, not our typical sort of like broker led or relationship led large corporates that we're used to, where you get, a big check from one client. If you want to get small checks from small clients, you need to be able to walk through this. We've in AXA tried to work on, a methodology we call phygital, where we're using digital to enhance physical. And why? Nigerians still want to see somebody. They want to talk to you. They want to know your address so they know where they're going to go and complain. Tell me you're a fully digital company. They say, where is their office? So that mindset is still there, but we can use digital to enhance that. So using new technology, digital tools to sort of enhance, I guess, what some people are doing already will be extremely useful. Finding ways to, use, things like geolocation, things of this nature to better help us to understand the risk in areas without having to get somebody go there and physically incur the cost of going there. So how can we use what we have to do this? I believe that would be very helpful. But then I like to say that there's a need for co-optation, and I'll stop on this third point. Co-optation in the sense that the industry is still largely focused on, we're competing against each other. We need to work together. We need to collaborate. I'm a collaborator by nature, but, they talk about and tell us that the fourth industrial revolution is all about what, partnerships and collaboration. So there is a need for us to collaborate as an industry. If we're able to do this, we can cut the cost of certain things that have held us back. We can find better methods of serving the clients, i.e., claims, methodologies that can help, that can really be of use. Give a simple example is that how many car repair garages do we all know? We know Brother Shegun, Mr. Kunle, Mr. Fatai, who are the ones that are repairing the cars by the side. And these are probably good. But can they really serve us the way we want? Can we take up and invest in that infrastructure, the infrastructure that serves us as an industry to service even the basic motor claims? That could make a big difference for everyone in the industry while everyone is still improving their own user experience, their own offering. I think these things could be very useful, but we're talking about individuals in the long run. And so tech is extremely important in this conversation, but we must also work with our regulators because regulators have always, sort of like been concerned in the past. Thanks.
Okay. All right. That's power packed. Digital co-optation. So Henry, a product guy, and we're talking about more sustainable insurance, inclusion. What two fundamentals do you think has to be there when designing products, or looking at the products that we have already?
Yeah. So again,
creating new ones afresh. What fundamentals should be there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. There's a bit of lag on your end, but I can hear you now. Can you hear me? So I think
yes.
So we're starting to learn the industry, right? Which is, again, we are not, our background is not really insurance. Our background is in product. We do have, members of a team who have, extensive years of experience in the insurance industry that we've had to bring in. But when we look at it when we look at the market right now, we think, because fundamentally, when you look at the future of the sort of like the history of insurance was first of all a B2B product, right? And then it was as an upper class product. We are not, we're largely sort of like a poor country. We're very, so the way insurance works is not really designed for sort of like, the kind of country we are, which is why when you look at poor countries, they're mostly the ones who have very low penetration, right? So when you look at rich countries, they do have insurance, right? Because insurance is not really designed for poor people. So we have to, it requires very different. Again, this is why it's very, really, really hard for traditional incumbents to figure it out. It requires, and I have to give it to AXA, right? I would say that they are very innovative, right, in the way they think. But it requires a lot of innovation and new thinking, because most of these models don't exist anywhere else, right? Because if you look at if you look at insurance, the way you are doing it now, you're probably copying a lot of what exists. It's easy to say, okay, I know how it works. Okay, let's sell to corporates. That exists everywhere else in the world. But when you're looking at how you can figure out how to get to the person who earns less than $1 a day and you want to insure them, then it requires like totally different types of products, right? I was in a conversation, I think last week on Clubhouse, and people were talking about, if you're trying to look at insurance, like maybe especially for the sort of like bottom of the pyramid, then you have to think about it from the way they think about it. These guys are probably farmers or something, right? So, and they were talking about, this particular person in the conversation was saying, these guys work very different from the way we work. They don't keep money in the bank because there's no value for them to keep money in the bank. They store most of their produce as like farm products in the, and it was explaining something around the way their circles work. So these guys farm and then they keep the produce for a while, so they can, get sort of like better pricing. So they don't have cash, so they can't buy insurance products with cash. So it requires, when I think about it, for us, we know that there's a different kind. We don't know what the answer is. Like Rashida said in the beginning, if anybody knows what the answer is, then, we wouldn't be at 3% penetration in Africa, right? So, but thinking about it, we just do know that it has to be different because we're working with a totally different demographics. And again, with regulators need to be really, again, that's the problem with regulators are a big player, right? They're big, sort of like the policies. One policy can literally change the way the industry works. So I don't know who's lobbying the regulators and all that, but I would think, first of all, I would say that it's changing the way we think about the market we're serving, because it's very different from anything else all over the world. So it has to be totally different thinking, new, ground up. We have to look at what is important to them. It's probably not what is important to us. They're not doing car. They don't have cars. So it's not more auto insurance products, right? So it's something that is, I was looking at Dr. Ola's statistics of about 150 or 150-ish million Nigerians are classified from ultra poor to survivors, right? So these guys are not worried about car, right? So it's not a car insurance product that would get into the market. So we have to think about what is important to people. That's number one. And then we have to get our regulators to be helpful.
Great. So there was a question earlier in the day during one of the sessions, but we were not able to take it. It was directed towards after it was mentioned. So I want to pose it to Rashida. If you can share some information about it and maybe give us any insights that you have. So the question is asking about current status about telcos as aggregators. And it mentioned that the collaboration between Airtel and AXA, if that is still on, or
So, this is still a very topical issue, by the way. So, I'll try my best not to get myself into any regulatory faux pas today. But overall, what it is that the NCC hasn't fully lifted the view that the telcos should not sell insurance. So there's a standing, sort of like principle from NCC that says they should not sell. But right now, though, they do have a methodology by which you can use the platforms as anybody else can use the platforms that they are working on. But I'm not sure it's really live everywhere yet. I'm not sure all the players are doing that. We worked with MTN in the first stage. Airtel also had a solution with another insurance company, and those solutions were pushed on the table. So from our regulator NICOM side, they are saying that they wouldn't mind you using an aggregator, but they want to understand what your agreements are, what you're selling, who's carrying what risk. So those sort of things are still there. So NICOM is actually more supportive of using that. But you see, when you're talking about very poor people, the real issue that I guess we still haven't solved is that we were using airtime to pay for insurance. And the NCC does not allow you, neither does the CBN want you to use airtime to pay for insurance. So that is totally not happening anymore. And in many of these, some of the other African countries and in Asia, what we've seen is that, these guys buy airtime. So it's like a store of money for some people in a way. I guess because maybe mobile money is a better deal. And therefore using airtime has been something that, they've been able to use to promote the sale of insurance more. And that was what we're all looking for, is to be able to use airtime. But what they've now moved to is for us to be able to use some level of mobile wallets, which is what they're evolving into as an alternative. But honestly, it has its own complications. And as Henry said, to be honest, how many of these guys really are going to have a mobile money account? Do they have a bank account already? How are we, getting them to have those small accounts? But I must say to you that, NICOM is supportive of using them as aggregators. But of course, you need to check all your documentation. You need to go through NICOM and get approvals to do that. But the point of using airtime is not allowed. And I think NCC is still a little bit reticent. But, with a lot of all the inclusion conversations, we have been pushing for the last 2 years to see that happen. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Joel Masharia. I'm the co-founder of Motisure, where we provide last mile distribution of microinsurance products. Keep listening to the InsurTech business series to get the latest on insurance and InsurTech within and outside of Africa.
Oh, awesome. So to round up this session, because it's been an interesting conversation so far, and I wish that we could go on and on. Rashidat, now, just your final thoughts around trends you think that we'll begin to see, or what you expect, not just insurers now, but for the industry, everybody in the industry, what kind of mindset or change or thing do you want to begin to see, that would, take this industry to the next level? Because we need actions even after this conversation.
I totally agree with you. I'm so much, vested in this industry. I like to joke sometimes that, it's easier to actually earn more money from other places than we do earn in insurance. But like I said, it's a noble profession. The very first thing is open-mindedness and the ability to, work together, even as whether it's, tech startups, whether it's the incumbents as we're being told or called. I don't see myself as an incumbent. I see myself, as a startup as well, really pushing to make change, right, in AXA. But all of us need to be a lot more open-minded to work together. We need to, sort of bury our own, sort of silo uniqueness and try to, there are companies who have grown large in the industry because they understand how to manage the system, but this system cannot support us as we go forward. So there's openness and collaboration that needs to happen a lot more in the sector. We need to have people who become strong in their niches or in their skill sets and offer it as a service and collaborate together. Some level of, white labeling from some people or the other is something that I see happening because they are very good with this. They have this kind of balance sheet, because to take certain risks, true, you do need a strong balance sheet. And, honestly, some of the new, micro licenses at 300 million, I'm not sure would really be able to drive that because insurance has its technicalities around reserving. I expect to see a lot more trend happening around, use-based, in terms of people being able to use-based. Perhaps there will be some things happening around telematics and things in that region. A lot more conversations around geolocation and sort of like geo, pricing and geo insuring. It's definitely, an area that we will see evolving as technology technology, cloud, and all of these things start to support us a lot more, so that even, anyone can afford it. I expect to see a lot more trend in micro or lower level sort of like creation of products across different companies, not just the people you are typically used to. Even the, traditional strategics would have to offer solutions that would help people, ensure at the lower end of the market. In the long run, we can make an impact on people who are maybe, low income or very poor income, but we cannot cover the absolute poor. That has to be the government. And so I expect to see more collaboration with the government, where we're able to cover the very, very lowest end of the pyramid. The government has to come in here and create some base level offering. We all like to say that, maybe the poor people are not insured. Even the well-to-do people on this call, I don't know how many of them have insurance. I'm telling you, if you're in Nigeria, I can almost count in every room I'm in. I ask that question, apart from your motor insurance, which, Henry has told us is only for rich people. How many of you have any other insurance? And they don't. So our culture, and the big change is that we need to have a cultural revolution where we start to train people. Those of us that are even mature need to learn differently, financial skills. And then we teach the children that you must start to save for the future. You must put things away. Don't wait till your salary to pay school fees. Why are you not building that school fees, that rent as we go along? If we don't make these changes, it will still be very, very difficult for us. So we need to create micro products, micro solutions. We in AXA, don't mind me pitching in here. We're very, very particular about this. And that's why, we have different solutions we've done, we've tested. In healthcare as well, we have some, malaria covers that we're working on with partners. I think Wella Health is one of them. And we are selling policies. People are trying it. And what we want to do is that people must see insurance in action. If they don't see it in action, I'm sorry, we would not have the right level of penetration. It's not about what we advertise to them on TV. I know that it's very expensive to do TV adverts, but we must show people when things happen that insurance is there to protect them. So I'll stop here so that Henry can take a few more of the conversation. Thank you.
Yes, so Henry, what do you expect to see? What are you saying?
You finished everything. There's nothing else to say.
I did not say more again.
There's nothing else. There's nothing else to say. I should definitely put you on speed dial, and every day I'll just call you and just listen. But I think the question is, what do we hope to see, or what do we see for the industry to drive? What's the question again? Because I kind of comlost track of.
What do we hope to see in the industry going forward?
Yeah. So again, coming from say the startup product side of things, I would say that as we're starting to see, so if we see what's happening in the fintech, in the banking and the payment space in the past couple of years, we saw a lot of innovation driven by startups. So we also caused the banks to also sort of seed up as well. So I think something similar would happen in the insurtech space as well. Right now we're seeing so many challenger banks, raising a lot of money, starting out. And again, they cost, because they have fantastic user experiences, they basically now just change the way the industry thinks about these things, and then cause the incumbents to also try to innovate or to partner with them. So I believe that we will start to see this in the next 3 to 5 years in our ecosystem as well. I think we'll see a lot more. If you think about the space, there are very few. You can count the insurtechs. You can count them in your fingers. There are very, very few of us. But I think in the next few years, we start to see a lot of them coming in different places in the value chain, and they will help drive. We're starting to see a lot of all these things happen across the continent, in other places in East Africa. We're starting to see a lot of these people start out to try to do things. People like us who are trying to help out on sort of the efficiency and the productivity side of things. So I believe that for me, that is what I obviously think that one of the biggest drivers, like Rashisha said, should be sort of regulators, the government. But I feel where we have control over is that we'll see a lot of young people who are very passionate about the space try to do new things using technology, and that would fundamentally change things. Because even with the products we have, so one of the things I wanted to see was that when Rashida said about the industry coming together, right? So it's totally blue ocean. It's just 3%, right? So there's a large market. So if the incumbents can also find ways to create, or even the regulator to start creating, education, start educating the market, right? Rashida said, maybe most of my friends, maybe very few of them will have, they're still middle class, but many of them will not have insurance products, right? So it's about education. It's about education. So, and it's not something one player would do. It's something maybe the industry needs to figure out a way to do it together. So three things. We'll start to see a lot of insurtechs, and then those insurtechs will help the incumbents be a little bit more innovative. We should look forward to having the incumbents partner together to educate the market. And then we should, educating sort of like around getting the regulators to have a lot more momentum in terms of what they think. Because we've seen a lot of people come into the market and then the regulators kill them. So hopefully, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope the regulator is not listening, that they chase some people. So thank you very much for this very insightful conversation. There's still a lot that needs to be done. Like Rashida said, someone has even quoted Rashida, people must see insurance in action. Rashida at ABC, November 2020. That's it. So I think that's the level that we need to get to. They have to see insurance work. We have to pay claims. We have to improve. Technology is helping in that, and even the incumbents who, before now we have said that they are slow to change, or they don't want to, or they are not quick to adapt with technology. They are doing that with Ask Answered. And thank you very much, Rashida. Thank you, Henry. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and I did enjoy this conversation.